And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is MJ. I am joined by Colin once again for our last week of the regular season here for CCL Valorant, hosted by DSU. Colin, it's been a while.
It has been a while, and I'm super excited to be back. We took some time off for some spring break action, just kind of hanging out, getting some nice air. I know that I went to Rapid City and kind of just spent some time out at the Black Hills. Snowboarding, so now we're back here.
I got to work the whole time.
So now we're back, ready for some awesome Valorant action, and I think, from my knowledge, we've got a very, very tight matchup. I understand that SDSU actually beat NDSU, which we lost to. So it's going to be
our only loss. Our opponents now have beaten.
Yes, so it's looking like we're going to have a pretty tight matchup today.
And so not only is it going to be a tight matchup, but it's a pretty exciting week for CCL in general. The new agent, Gecko, for all of you at home, is now available for players here in CCL. He's been out for 2 weeks. Any bug tests and all that are pretty much ready to go. And so we'll see. I don't think DSU will be running him at all, but I hope we see him on one of these maps. Speaking of maps,
I think that it would be really cool to see him early on. I think that being able to see some high level gameplay of Gecko in such a league setting would be very, very fun to see personally. But I don't think that we're gonna be able to see Gecko, at least not on this map. It's not looking like
unless Peachy. No, oh. Okay. So Peachy is gonna be the one that's gonna be taunting us this whole time. But yeah, I think it'd be awesome to see Gecko. I personally have mixed feelings of the agent. He seems very strong, but for stupid reasons, at least to me. So his main primary ability, for everyone at home who possibly doesn't play Valorant like a religion, like I sometimes do, his primary ability is a flash of some sorts. So Gecko is a Beastmaster type agent. He has a bunch of little small pets. His flash is he throws this little blue monster into the air, and when it sees any opponents, it like spits a little glob on their face and kind of inks them like Mario Kart.
Exactly, yeah.
And then he has a Molotov that he's able to throw that instead of like doing damage over time, it does kind of like breach flash or breach the aftershock, I think it's what's called, and just does a ton of damage all at once. And then his most powerful ability, at least in my opinion, is Wingman. It's this little yellow dude who usually, like if you normally just left click him, send him forward, he'll run forward, bounce off walls like a raised drone, and will concuss people if he sees anyone. However, Wingman has the potential to also plant and defuse the spike. And at first when I read that, I was like, that's ridiculous. But then it got worse because not only can he plant, he also doesn't have any penalty to planting at all. He runs forward with it, plants at normal speed, defuses at normal speed. The only real drawback is that Gecko has to be holding the spike, and when he sends out Wingman to do it, Wingman's carrying it, so technically he can die in like no man's land, and it's kind of a pain, but it's ridiculous. That on top of his ultimate.
Yeah, his ultimate is also super scary. It's kind of the same thing as a raise bot, like you mentioned. However, he can control it, and it essentially stuns, or I guess like shuts down the opponent if it hits them, the same way that a Killjoy ult would. And what I think, in my opinion, is the most overpowered about this character is that you can pick up his utility after it has been reused, which is, it allows you to reuse utility and make use of it more than just one time.
Like his ultimate, yeah, you run forward like a sky dog, and then when you explode onto someone, it shuts them down similar to Killjoy. And you can pick that up and at one additional time, so you can use it technically twice. And then also his flash and his Wingman can be picked up. I don't think his Molly can. But we have pretty exciting Lotus gameplay going on. Lotus being the newest map. We don't see it too much in CCL, but we'll be going in Billy, caught in the midst of a reload. Gonna finally get the trade. It's down just to Billy. The spike has been planted, but SDSU will take down the final player remaining for Dakota State and get the first round of this best of 3.
Yeah, a lot of early aggression there coming from DSU. They started a little bit on C site, and then they immediately went towards B. And B is a very scary place to try to get a bomb planted, just being swarmed from both the people on A and the people on C. So unfortunate for them, but I think that it's kind of a common thing for DSU to maybe lose on pistol rounds. I think a running joke is that we don't need the pistol rounds.
We don't need pistol rounds. We don't need. Tim would be proud, but no. Actually, it's gonna kind of come back to bite us as a lot of SDSU is getting very aggressive with their buying three Bulldogs going into this buy-up round. Usually, you'll see like maybe a couple Marshals if they're feeling their aim is hot, a couple Spectres, and maybe a Bulldog, but 3 of them. That's getting a little excessive, but we do unfortunately lose one just out of the gate. But this is the round that DSU is expected to lose, all things considered. And so it's not the worst thing. Really, you're just looking for some impact frags, maybe take some of the guns out of their hand, because every gun that they have to drop, they have to reinvest in or choose just to completely negate having a gun going into DSU's buy-up. And Butter's going to be good for 2, now good for 3, and Frog has brought the spike all the way deep into B.
Last player standing.
It's going to be down just to Lunchbox as Billy's going to lose his 1v1 out towards A. And this, a classic and a dream, really. Butters is down pretty low, but he's going to have to walk through a gauntlet of SDSU first, and Peachy will finally take him down. A Flawless coming in from SDSU's bonus round there.
Like you mentioned, though, that was kind of expected. It's really hard to try to go into a round when you've got nothing but classics, maybe even a Ghost, and they've got Bulldogs and Spectres. It's really hard to try to combat that. However, now they come in with the intention of buying Vandals against their Bulldogs, Stingers, and Spectres. So this should be the round that they're hoping to win, kind of get a little bit more ground made for them going into these next couple of rounds.
Yeah, this is where you want DSU to really come back. They have the superior weaponry, and really their economy requires it. However, due to not only not losing anyone, but also just forcing up 2 Bulldogs in and of itself, SDSU is not in a bad position, and they're getting very aggressive out A main. This is a pretty usual tactic I like seeing from some teams. When you have the worst weaponry, just running down A, you can get a lot of ground before DSU would have any chance to really contest you. But DSU is going to play the smarter game and back out. And they're going to try to re-aggress B. They have the Viper smoke on C to try to get some ground made, but Billy's just going to still be hanging out. A nice headshot, taking down Ascent, getting that first blood, and immediately backs out. And that's DSU. Instead of pressuring that, they're going to rotate all the way out and hit C.
Yeah, leaving 2 people for SDSU on A. Looks like they might be going for a little bit of a flank, though, so definitely going to have to be careful as they get onto the site and get this bomb planted. But it looks like they might have this site for free. It looks like Billy's good for 1 more.
Like taking down Hunter, really was whipping a couple of his shots, trying to drill them through the wall there, but finally was able to get taken down. To Butters will take Frogfan. The flank has been spotted, but J Mula will get a trade out. DSU in firm control. Lunchbox a little worse for wear, but really it's just the flank left. And really, there's a miracle that could happen. They do have a Vandal in the hand of Peachy, and they'll do quite a bit of work with that as well, taking down Xeon. It's now a 2 versus 1 instead of a 4 versus 1, but Billy's still sitting very pretty on health and really just trying to get as much damage done. Peachy's gonna die to the bomb, unfortunately, can't really get out. Unless I spoke too soon. That happens quite a bit. No, will end up dying. I was gonna say.
Just barely.
That was close, enough to make me nervous that I casting cursed myself, but.
That'll secure their 3rd round, though, for DSU, and, they kind of needed that round. I think that, they lost, I believe, 3 players, so, still a little bit of an economic hit, but not as bad as losing the entire round. So super big for these guys. Hopefully they can kind of keep this momentum going that they've made for themselves going into this round 4.
One thing you pointed out there was that they did lose 3 people, and it's important to win that 3rd round because you have such a good buy compared to your opponents, but it's going to leave you when you drop 3 people on something like this, where you have 2 sheriffs, Frog's still sitting on a classic. Actually, I think he may have run into some technical issues, so we're going to switch back to casters real quick, because they do have a current pause up. But yeah, it leaves you in such a weird position right now, just from you're bringing in 2 hero rifles really, but you don't have a whole lot more to work with.
Yeah, and of course, SDSU, they're also not looking the absolute greatest. There's also one person also using a classic with heavies. But for the most part, just because the SDSU has won 2 rounds rather than DSU winning 1, they're actually going to be just a little bit economically better, or sitting a little bit better economically. So unfortunate for DSU, but I think that Lotus, it looks to me like it's a little bit more of a defensive-sided map. I think that you can really show a lot of aggression on these, like A side, for instance. Last round there was a lot of aggression from SDSU early on, and even now we're seeing a whole bunch of utility pop out early on. Billy's going to take a little bit of tick damage, but he gets over to the pocket here.
And I want to point out that Butters was the one that was sitting on the heavy shields in Classic. He actually pops his tour de force. He's doing so well right now. He has his chamber ultimate already up and ready to go. And so he may not only have a Classic in his back pocket, but he still has arguably the best gun in the game in terms of just raw damage numbers. And he's going to be locking down this site. Frog's going to be good for 1, though, taking down Ascent. That's going to net a gun for Jmula. He barely lives, dodging the bullet from Butters as they are going from A to C, or B, I should say. Jmula finally taking down Butters. Going to whiff the shot, unfortunately, but Hunter will finally take down Frog. Trades are going back and forth, but Hunter from SDSU is going to be doing a lot of work. It's down just to Jmula. He spotted 2 of them and not going to be good for it. Peachy getting a small blast back boost there. Going to finally get the round win, and that is a huge win for SDSU.
Yeah, it looks like Hunter did a really, really good job managing to control the amount of pressure the DSU was putting off there on top mid of B. So good on him. A little bit unfortunate for DSU there, and that'll put them at a 3-1 for SDSU.
But we're sitting at this weird point in the game right now where it's so early on that nobody's really been able to build a whole lot. It's very important for either team to win here, a little more so for DSU to get that ball rolling really, but it's still a little bit of a broken bri. Most people have their Vandals, most people have their full utility and all that, but still we had, I think, 1 person on each team sitting on either light shields or not a full rifle, something like that. Now DSU, they're going to be trying, once again, the CB pressure, which is a pretty common, I would say, offense on Lotus here, especially when you have an attacking Killjoy ultimate from Lunchbox. It's going to net you all of the space you need on C. But it really does give away and allow a lot of time for rotates. Nobody's going to get detained. But it's still post-plant, 45 seconds to go in a 5 versus 5. Slightly, I'd say, in favor of DSU, as they do have 2 ultimates to play with still. But Peachy's going to be opening it up, taking down Xeon. The trade is in, and Frogfan and Lunchbox are going to town, taking SDSU down, but Butters is here. Butters is ready to play. He's good for 2. It's down just to Jmula and Billy. But with Billy on the flank, Butters now knows of Billy's presence. But he cannot stick without risking it all. And finally, Billy will put him down as he goes for the spike.
Yeah, Lunchbox getting 3 there. What a nice job managing to just hold those angles and play with his team.
Frogfan was there and I think acted a little bit of as a meat shield almost, because I think Frog lost his life but was able to get 1 in the whole mess of things. But no, that was a big win for DSU. They're going to be able to afford to come into this round pretty strong still. But once again, we're seeing very broken buys. A Sheriff coming out from Xeon, who has no longer visiting Uncle Owen, does have the 1 kill, but I mean, isn't really doing what the duelist needs to do. That's run in, make space, and get kills. But
yeah, I do think that there is a common misconception that because you're a duelist, you have to get the amount of, you have to be top fragging almost every game, and I think that that's not necessarily true. I think that the main role of a duelist is to create space for your team. If anything, you should be almost the first one dying.
And Peachy will just, the narrowest gap, going to be drilling down. And that's a knife kill for Xeon. Not going to quite get the flick onto Ascent. Frogfan will even it out, but DSU's down by 1 player. It looks like they still want to pressure this A hit. Gonna be able to pick up the orb for Lunchbox. He's almost back to his lockdown there. That's off of the back of that triple kill from before. And they're just gonna slowly walk their way through the door. This little gap on Lotus is a wall technically, but can be broken. And if they can worm their way through without setting off that trip mine, DSU is going to be in a very dangerous position as they're going to have the jump on Butters, and as they take that down, that's going to open up this B site. No trip mine to worry about anymore.
Gonna have to be super careful though.
Oh,
Like
Frog Fan!
KO sitting inside of the smoke.
Channeling his inner Neo is going to just dodge all of the bullets, and we'll be re-pressuring Hunter. Lunchbox there for the save. But both players are shut down. It's now 2 versus 1 in favor of DSU. Lunchbox and Frogpan going huge, making the plays together. And Spiky Boy gonna be eating a ton of shots from that turret. Taken down to super low HP, really can't risk a whole lot. I don't even think he has enough health to make it out of a Killjoy Molly. And that'll be Frogpan with a triple kill, finally taking down. I called him Spiky Boy before because I only saw the first part and I saw a BY at the end. Oh boy, I think I'm just gonna call him Spike at this point.
Yeah, I know Lunchbox once again doing a very, very good job playing that team member role and making sure that he's with his team on every single fight. And that allowed Frogfan to kind of stay alive because it looked like he didn't really have the crosshair placement for that last fight with KO. But once again, Lunchbox coming in clutch, being a great team member there.
And now, finally, I'd say we have one team who is strictly in the advantage when it comes to economy and weaponry and armory and all that. And we're going to be seeing a very aggressive push on the A side. All 5 members from SDSU going to be aggressing the A main on the flank. I love the play, but I'm not entirely sure if it's going to net them a whole lot. Yeah, they just have to run in and plant at this point, but... That's all 5. Billy's gonna opt to let his smoke drop as the plant is going down. The Rolling Thunder comes out, but it's on the wrong site. Still 5 members left alive for SDSU. And Nuko, did we switch spawns here?
I believe so, yeah. I mean, and like you mentioned in previous rounds, you know, it's super important to just kind of just haul everything you have at this entire team if you're on a broken buy, just because you've almost got nothing to lose in this sense. And, you know, trying to just bring all 5 of the team members at this rather than trying to default and, you know, hold your own site is just putting you at a disadvantage. And it looks like a whole bunch of trades are going to come out.
The spike doesn't get halved, and that'll be Xeon on the flank. Gonna finally sit down SDSU, and that was a wild play. Going from A down, I think they opened the door and everything, trying to get through. That was a crazy mess. And finally, we're gonna be seeing kind of a matched buy from both teams here.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, like I said before, just because they were on classics and sheriffs that entire round, and they managed to kill 3 of DSU's members. So I mean, it's a little bit better to just kind of, you know, barrel down one side rather than trying to default and maybe defend each site on your own. So a pretty good move on SDSU's part.
Seeing another early default aggression here. Once again, I'm loving watching Billy on the Viper, especially when Frog opts to double controller with him, because he always does these lurking plays, just slithering around the map, trying to just make space, and he gets a ton of it over on A, just waiting for Ascent to maybe leave and peek out, but he made his presence known too early. They know Billy's over here. But the plant will be down on C, especially with that attacking Killjoy ult going up. But I think they're gonna drop it to Frog, who's gonna teleport all the way to A. Yep, Billy netting a ton of space over on A, gonna net DSU the plant 4 versus 4. And just that lurk play gonna gain him so much free space.
Cover going out.
Now we see DSU. The clock's ticking down, not a whole lot from SDSU yet. They have a one-way they have to walk through. They've used their stun and flash. But finally, everyone's down. Frogfan's in a dangerous position, but he's not quite good for one as Peachy gets the flick and takes down 3 of DSU's number.
Oh, super unfortunate for Frog Fan there. You know, you have this amazing flank on looks like 3 of SDSU's members, and to get the first one and then not be able to get any of the rest is super unfortunate.
Just had an outline of Peachy's head there on the wall. I hate it when that happens with your spray, where it's bouncing between their ears but not going quite through. And that'll be SDSU keeping it close, keeping the score tied 4-4. DSU still sitting pretty on a pretty hefty mountain of money, as they have ran 3 rounds together, but once again, we're not seeing too terribly good economy from either side. We will have another tour de force come out, and they've spotted it immediately on C with a beautiful jiggle peek from Xeon as Jamula opens up the B site. He's just gonna scout out all of B. They take down the trip mine. Oh, and Billy's actually been lurking out towards C. He's gonna take down Butters, the tour de force, once again, not doing a whole lot, and Frog Fan just making a complete mess of the 2 players from A. And it's just down to the breach. Gonna try to lurk his way up from A, backing out from the window that he was pushing at, but Spike, he will be walking straight into Frog Fan's crosshairs, and they're already watching him. Frog's gonna get aggressive, hunting for kills. He's hungry for it, and Frog with another triple. Frog's just been on fire this match so far, and really it's been showing as he does sit top of the scoreboard for DSU from at 10-6 and 5.
Peachy as well doing quite well at 13 and 5. And, you know, I think Peachy has been absolutely phenomenal so far, making sure that, you know, things are really getting shut down, honestly. I think that Peachy has kind of been the focal point of SDSU so far. And, you know, I think that, like I said earlier, Lotus being a defensive-sided map, it can be a little bit tough for SDSU to kind of create rounds and get a nice rhythm going. And maybe that's why the rounds are so close so far.
We have a one-way smoke, this time from SDSU. Going to be blocking out all of these jiggle peaks that DSU has been employing, as 2 players are going to be getting aggressive towards Mound. But this is another pretty standard default from Dakota State.
Our spike carrier's down.
Oh, but Hunter wins the initial 1v1 there. First blood going to be going the way of SDSU, and DSU is going to be running back, hitting the opposite site, and we'll be finally taking down Butters.
Wow. Billy getting a very nice kill on Butters there and creates a little bit more space for DSU to go on A. It looks like they might be able to get another free plant as well.
Billy lurked his way up in a nasty position, is able to get 2. Billy on 3 so far this round, but it is Hunter and Ascent left for SDSU. Granted, I will say we've seen a lot of flashy moments from Peachy. Oh, Billy's going for it. The moment was there, but Xeon getting aggressive, going to be taking down the last 2. Just the tack shooter timing of, I think it was Ascent turning around just at the wrong time.
Billy almost there with an ace opportunity. That would have been a very, very nice highlight for him.
But no, as I was saying, with Peachy has been the flashy one of getting a bunch of like triple kills, quad kills. But really, it's been Hunter with some fantastic knife throws and really almost perfect timing on a lot of the shutdowns, as well as Ascent. I've noticed a ton of the one-ways that you can do on Lotus here, which I think is the reason why you prefer an Omen as your primary smoke agent on this map, is you're able to just hook your smoke into so many little bricks and crevices. Hunter with a nasty Sheriff headshot taking down Jamula. We're able to just get so many nice one-ways, and that, I'm gonna be honest, I still have not figured out a lot of them.
SDSU here with another kind of broken buy. They're really gonna have to work something out. Looks like the majority of SDSU is either on B, going towards C, and then A. But it looks like they're rotating all over towards C as Billy pops his ult, tries to create some more space for C, get the bomb planted down. And it looks like the bomb will go down on C as we get down into these last 45 seconds here.
That'll be DSU Xeon with a spray through the smoke, gonna take down Hunter. Butters is here watching the entrance, seeing if anyone's gonna get aggressive. And he will finally push in, taking a ton of DK damage that will heal back up, but Okay, I think it does. Yeah, I was wondering if this ultimate kind of leaned over the ledge there a little bit to allow a plant to be sitting in it, and I think it does just a little bit. So
Trades going off left and right. Billy good for one on Peachy, and it'll be down to a 2v1 situation in favor of DSU. Ascent trying to smoke himself off, and Billy is saying no and gets a headshot through the wall, and that'll bring DSU 7-4. So they kind of made a pretty good momentum for themselves here going into this 12th round of offense.
yeah, last round in the half. DSU sitting on a very comfortable buy. Everyone still have plenty of money left in the coffers, but SDSU 2 players not quite able to afford up to heavy shields. So that'll be 25 HP, a total of 50 off of SDSU here. Especially when, I was going to say both, but now just Spike running with the Phantom. That's a very dangerous play in my opinion, as if you have a headshot trade, even if it's with another Phantom, you lose that, because 140 still beats out the 125 cap that light shields will give you.
Lots of util coming out here on A side. We see Omen and Raze kind of playing really aggressive here next to Billy. But it looks like he's not trying to make any crazy moves just yet. A lot of util came out, though. We have an Omen smoke, a breach charge, as well as the Raze grenade. So a lot of old util came out there, just trying to make some space for themselves. But it looks like Billy making his way up along with Raze.
Peachy popping the Raze ultimate, just gonna let it go. And finally, they'll be taking down Billy just with spam alone. And this has just created such a death trap for DSU to try to push through. They're opting to, let's switch it up. Let's maybe not go A, let's go C.
Get out of my way.
And with that KO knife, I think a little bit too early. I was just singing this man's praise, but he's not gonna have a whole lot of utility to really stop DSU other than his gun, and Xeon's gonna shut Hunter down. Finally though, the molly from Hunter after death will take down Jay Mula. I think 11 HP, really sitting anywhere within that radius will take you down. Spike will be planted. Frogfan, who has his ultimate up. Xeon still sitting on his knives. He'll be shot in the backs. Trades going left and right, but finally Spike good for 2, taking down both Lunchbox and Xeon. Will net a 5-7 half in favor of DSU.
Yeah, definitely a great start for DSU, I think. I mean, being the SDSU beat NDSU, and we have lost to NDSU, that's kind of a mouthful. This is definitely a great representation of what we can do, and I think that going into these defensive rounds will be a great opportunity for us to kind of show. Being that we've got 2 controllers, we can control a lot more of this with the amount of smokes that we've got, and with Killjoy on our side as well. I think that Killjoy will be able to shut down a lot of the offensive pressure coming from SDSU.
And yeah, as you were pointing out, the Killjoy is going to have so much larger impact than I think the Chamber really was expecting. The Chamber, especially after some of his most recent nerfs, only having the 1 trip mine really doesn't allow this same amount of coverage that a Killjoy can with her 2 mollies, her alarm bot, and her turret. It's a lot of information gathering that's lost when you switch to a chamber here in favor of maybe a little bit more killing power, and we'll see that here as Butters is gonna sit Billy down. But that's what the 2 smokes are for. We still have Frogfan up here watching the B site, but we still have plenty of smokes up and available.
4 stack here for SDSU on the A side, but it looks like they might be going through door here onto B. Looks like they're all gathered up close, using a lot of util to create some space for themselves, though.
That'll be the door broken. And yeah, this is what I've noticed with a lot of pistol rounds, especially watching like VCT a little bit, is you aggress one of the edge sites and then you switch over to B.
Frogfan with a nice right click on Peachy. Lunchbox as well on Butters.
The bomb going down on the Lunchbox reload. But this is just firmly back in DSU's control. It's just down to Spiky, who will finally get taken down by Xeon.
Well done by Lunchbox once again, holding it down.
I was gonna say that's a little sketch from Lunchbox. Just the the midst of the reload, standing there, putting down the spray, announcing to everyone your position, and just getting the last second flick onto Hunter, taking him down. For as low on the leaderboard as Lunchbox has been, his impact in these rounds has been phenomenal.
And once again, something interesting we saw from both DSU and SDSU on the first round, they both opted to plant on B site. And that was a little bit interesting for me. Billy able to take down Butters super early on in the round. Let me see another 3 stack here on B for SDSU.
And yeah, I mean, you lost pistol round on the offense. You really don't have a whole lot of options, as you don't really have any of the abilities that higher grade weaponry will afford you, and Billy's gonna be good for 3. But you don't really have any of the weaponry to crack some of these choke points.
Billy doing a fantastic job getting the amount of eco there for what he had bought. So great way to shut that down, getting 3.
And that's a very powerful gun he had in his hands, especially only for the 950 credits it's worth. Although Hunter now gonna be switching Billy's Marshall onto his friendly teammates, and finally gonna be sat down by J Mula and Xeon. But yeah, for 950 credits, roughly a little under 1,000 there, you're able to do 101 damage per body shot.
Yeah,
I
very
mean,
strong weapon for people who don't buy shields. It can be super effective.
I mean, you sit there, especially when I lose pistol round, I'm like, okay, what are the chances that the Jet, knowing that Jet operator is a very strong pick, will be playing with a Marshall this second round? And it almost makes me want to invest that 20 or that 400 credits just to negate a possible one tap to the body. And it just puts you at such a weird economic mindset, because you want to not die in one shot, but also that's 400 credits. That could be the difference between being able to full buy or not.
Loads of pressure here from SDSU onto C site. Looks like they might be kind of swarming Lunchbox here, as he only has a Frenzy.
Frenzy can do work, but it's a lot to ask for when there's 3 people all ADSing in your direction. Peachy's gonna get wiggled a little bit.
Holding such a tight wall, trying to keep himself alive.
The little
J-Mula helps him out.
Peachy, he's gonna be good for 1.
Enemy remaining.
Well done from J Mula.
J Mula just got tired of all this nonsense, walked in and dealt with it, as it's just down to Butters, who was originally lurking towards A and has joined the party a bit late.
Yeah, J Mula doing a fantastic job getting 3 there to help out Lunchbox, as he only had a Frenzy.
30 seconds left.
Although I loved the respect that I saw from SDSU there onto the Frenzy, because he just peek it and then run back in, maybe putting 3 bullets in. That's like maybe 30 damage at best. And yeah, Butters is just gonna let the time run out, try not to die. He unfortunately is gonna fail in that endeavor, as Billy will finally get the kill in the last second. But I agree with the play there, trying to bring in a hero rifle, especially with how competitive these rounds used to be. And now DSU winning that buy-up round really has taken a firm control of how this half is going to play out. And unfortunately, they're up by 5 rounds for, unfortunately for SDSU, I should say.
Yeah,
up by
like I
5
said,
rounds. That's a lot to come back from.
Like I said, I think that it's honestly just a defensive sided map, and being, down 5 rounds and then being on a broken buy, that's just, they're at such a disadvantage from now on. But it looks like they might be 5 stacking onto A here, creating a lot of pressure for themselves. Xeon trying to get some tick damage, but it looks like he might get some tick damage himself, as he has to back off.
And it's one player falling. Frog Fan gonna lose his life on that aggressive play, but Billy's gonna finally even it out on the long range shot onto Hunter. But it's the early aggression and then the slowdown. Nobody really trying to break through, trying to wait to see if DSU could maybe make a false step and get aggressive again. The DSU, the spray down through the wall there to take down What's the Rays' name? I've been singing their praise all day. Peachy. I was like, it starts with a P. I know that.
Slowing down here, SDSU waiting to kind of for this wall to go down and then make a move thereafter. And Billy playing close.
Billy!
Able to knock out 3 and make it a 4K for him in that round.
And that'll be DSU up to 11 rounds. This is SDSU's buy up 2. They have a weird position, and yeah, I'm not surprised to see this timeout because they're in a really weird position because they finally have the credits to buy back into this. However, if you lose this, you're now on map point with no money.
It is essentially game over if you lose this round with a buy-in, essentially, yeah, like you mentioned. And, you know, I think that if you can just keep the ball rolling, like I said earlier, Lotus is just such a defensive sided map, and I was super surprised to see DSU have such a great performance on the attacking side on this map. It's honestly so impressive, and like with the amount of games that I've played on Lotus, I noticed that I find myself struggling on offense so many times, but they have really pulled through.
Definitely, I just had to run that replay.
It was
back.
a great replay. I agree.
From Billy there. And I wish I could like piece together all of the kills that he got because we didn't see the first one that he got that round. I think it was down the A long all the way from I don't know what the call out is for it, but it's basically where Frog is standing as of right now.
Once again, 5-11 in favor of DSU. And SDSU opting to stick with the full buy here and kind of chancing it a little bit more. So hopefully that they can kind of get the ball rolling and see some momentum in their favor.
Yeah, I like the idea of trying to keep DSU off of 12, off of pushing all the way to match point. But I mean, really, if you lose this, that next round's kind of just a formality. You really need a miracle to get through it and keep your chances alive. But a very different play from both teams. We're not seeing DSU aggress A main this round. We're not really seeing a whole lot of action from SDSU. Trying to play and see if the Trojans get aggressive again. And Billy's just going to be watching the smallest of corners.
Going to be taking a little bit of tick damage there, but a little bit of a default. Yeah, like you mentioned, we see now a 4-stack on C with Butters now playing at B, but he looks like he might hit the door. Xeon missing his op shot, unfortunately for him, but he's able to get out in time. Missing once again, and he's going to be taking a lot of damage there as he gets stunned, and he gets suppressed as well, so he's going to have to back off.
Stunned,
the bomb goes down.
Suppressed, blinded. The dude was hit by all the util and quite a few bullets at that. Oh, and Billy's not going to be able to take down the suppression knife. Hunter will get the opening kill as the spike gets planted. So finally, first blood has been achieved, but DSU poised to take this back. They're going to even it out and actually take the advantage as Lunchbox once again takes down Butters. And yeah, DSU are running away with it. Everyone's playing off-site here as finally Rolling Thunder comes through, gonna get them off the defuse, but they're just gonna sit back on top of it, using the util. Lunchbox down to 1 HP. Lunchbox at 1 HP and takes it down, but I don't think they have time to run it back. Some perfect util use coming out from SDSU there. Everyone dies, and they're just able to use the breach utility to hold them off. First, Rolling Thunder, push them off the spike. Then Aftershock on the wall, not necessarily right next to the spike was, but on the corner of that opening choke point where the very tip of it is able to hit anyone who's defusing. And you have to get off of it. You cannot tank that. And then finally, it was just peeking that corner and not letting anyone comfortably defuse anymore. It's just able to net them so much time. And it's gonna net them a win. They're gonna be up now, back under 5 rounds. But still, they're able to keep DSU off that match point. Unfortunately, they lost everyone, so they do have to reinvest.
Yes, they do. And like you said earlier, I think that was a great util usage from Spike there. That was a very good job, managing to keep the bomb just barely off the hands of DSU, just in time for them to win that round.
And now we're seeing a good buy-in from DSU. They're still sitting fairly pretty. Unfortunately, Xeon, I don't think could quite afford, and so opted to switch or use his knives, but we're seeing a good number of guns, couple phantoms from SDSU, but it's not the best buy. A lot of noise being made A main, but
looks like they might be kind of backing off though, going back towards their spawn.
that's a lot of util and a lot of rotations from DSU. And that's a perfect read from SDSU as they're able to force, especially with that last KO knife, to try to hit the execute there. Everyone, they just misstepped on their rotate here.
Lunchbox reading this opportunity for SDSU here and now trying to combat it with his utility. Frogfan also. But it looks like Ascend already had some smokes lined up. 12 seconds left. They're going to have to get the bomb down, but Frogfan is able to get the bomb down as well. Xeon with his knives gets 2.
And there's no time left. There's no time for the KO to rotate through. He's just got to play for exit frags. But nobody's going to come meet him. Save his gun into this next round. And for as much praise as I was singing for SDSU earlier, they just let that one kind of go as nobody was watching. The spawn choke point. Frog was able to just walk in. And now, match point of map 1. We'll be seeing SDSU on a very broken buy.
I think that SDSU had such a great idea, and it worked almost fabulously. Lunchbox able to use a little bit of his util to kind of stop the attack and let his team rotate just a little bit enough. And then Ascent throwing down his smokes. However, DSU dead. We don't care. We're going to push right through the smokes, and we're going to kill you guys anyway.
And I got to point out, this, for as close as the rounds have been, it's still, the scoreline is very much in favor of DSU. But this is SDSU's map pick. And so we'll be going to Icebox next after this. And that'll be DSU kind of on their supposedly favored map here. We have Lunchbox on a perfect flank, gonna take down Hunter. Able to worm his way through C, which is actually strange because that's where Ascent came from. Ascent though for 2, finally. Gonna get sat down by Jmula. And with the defuse come in, that will be DSU taking map 1 over the Jackrabbits.
Yeah, and you know, like I said earlier, I think that was just such a strong performance, seeing how DSU really managed to pull through on offense there on Lotus, because that's just, like you mentioned, or like we just saw a little bit ago, you know, like SDSU really struggled to get some offensive rounds in there, and DSU made it look so easy, and I really found that fascinating for those guys.
Yeah, we're seeing Billy topping it off with 21. And actually, if our observer could hit timeline real quick, please, we'll be able to see that, yeah, DSU were able to put in quite a lot of work on the offensive side, a lot more than you'd kind of expect from Lotus, being the more defensive-sided map. And then we're just able to continuously run it through as they got not only the pistol round, but also that critical 3rd round of the half. And that's where, especially if you lose the pistol round, you need to win, and you just shatter any hope of coming back into it after losing that 3rd round. But really, it was a pretty good showing from both teams. I'm excited to see more Lotus, as much as I personally don't like playing the map. It's definitely an interesting way of playing. It's so much like closer and tight-knit, a lot of just 90-degree angles that you have to constantly be peeking, that it's a lot different than a lot of the other maps.
It can definitely be a huge struggle. However, I'm seeing a lot more Lotus than I am Haven now, and maybe that's kind of like the replacement that maybe Riot was kind of hoping for, as that is the second 3-sided map, or 3-sighted map. So maybe that they were just trying to replace an older map with a more like refurbished and a little bit newer of a 3-sided map. And I think that they're doing a pretty good job at that, in my opinion. And now that we're going into Icebox, this is also one of my personal favorite maps. I really enjoy Icebox.
It's love or hate for me. Sometimes I love Icebox, and other times like, oh god, if I Icebox. But I gotta say, I kind of know that they're trying to replace Haven, because the map rotations, as Riot has been adding so many new maps, they are switching out some of the older ones. So first we saw Split disappear when Pearl came out, and now with the addition of Lotus, we saw Bind disappear. And so with Lotus being now not only the new, but also seems to be the preferred 3-sided map, our next act will, whenever our next map is added, we'll likely see Haven actually step out of the limelight. Probably along with like Ascent, not gonna lie, or maybe Icebox, as they're kind of getting to the point where right now we have 2 maps out of the rotation. We have both Bind and Breeze, and so with another map, we're probably gonna have 3 maps out of the rotation. So I'm expecting Haven, I'm expecting Ascent, as those are the last 2 of the original maps, and then probably Icebox, not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's super unfortunate. And personally, I really enjoyed Breeze. I didn't really have any terrible qualms with Breeze, and I thought that the other map that was banned, Bind, I thought that was just such a nice map. It was DSU's favorite map, of course. We all know
If you
this.
wanted to win, you banned Bind.
Exactly. And we just played so well on it. It was so fun to play with. It had teleports, which was kind of like a new addition to Valorant in the maps. So I thought that was very fresh and fun. And they had just taken it away from the map rotation in ranked, and I thought that was super unfortunate. I hope they bring it back.
We'll
I hope
get
they
it back.
bring
We
it
got
back.
split back. We'll get it back.
Yeah.
With some of the players having a little bit of technical issues, I believe Frog's going to be restarting his PC. We are going to throw it to a quick break so that they can kind of get some of their stuff figured out. But definitely don't go away. We'll be seeing Icebox coming up shortly. And I'd love to see SDSU win this, not going to lie, we will be going to that new reintroduction of Split for our 3rd and deciding map. So please stick around. We'll be throwing to a quick break.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to map 2. And as we've alluded to before, we are going into Icebox for our next map. And, Mitch, I want to talk about, what do you think that SDSU needs to kind of work on going into this next one? Because we saw that they did, a pretty nice share showing themselves on defense, but they didn't necessarily have the edge that they necessarily needed to get those rounds in on offense for Lotus. So I want to ask you kind of what do they need to work on going into this next map?
So I saw some really excellent stuff from SDSU. All the puzzle pieces were there. It just didn't really form the correct puzzle. It's like the same cutout, but different images, so to speak. And so I saw some great timings on utility, especially out of Hunter on the KO. I saw some great like rotation timings where it's like we saw on one of the rounds where Billy was like really creeping his way up. DSU was making a ton of noise over on one side, but still they couldn't quite get the over rotation until they had to drop a Killjoy ultimate on there, which finally like signaled that they would be going there. So like all of the puzzle pieces are there. It's just not quite meshing together really well. And so I think it just turned into kind of an aim duel, and DSU seemed to be winning quite a few of those.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that there was a lot of aim duels going on, and Peachy winning quite a few of them in the first half, getting, I believe, 14 in the first half. We're seeing a little bit of a mix of team comp here. Hunter is switching from a KO to a Killjoy, Peachy switching from a Raze to a Jet, and then we also are seeing a Sova on both sides as well, which J Mula playing Sova is just so much fun to watch.
Peachy and Xeon switched agents because Xeon was playing Jet last map, and Peachy was on Raze. But yeah, I think a lot of what SDSU was doing was really good. It just came down to aim, which is like the last thing I ever want to tell people that we need to get better at, because aim just takes literally sitting down and grinding like aim labs or aim training, and it's not really something that you can like at the moment of the game think about and then do better at. You really just got to have hours and hours of practice.
Yeah, it is arguably the least fun thing to practice as well. I think that it is people like if I imagine myself sitting in aim labs just trying to work on my aim, that is almost just mentally draining, and it's exhausting. It takes a lot of effort. And I don't want to do it, to be quite frankly honest with you. I kind of want to just have fun and enjoy the game. We're seeing a lot of early aggression here on B for DSU as they try to work on their way onto site, and it looks like they might.
We have a very early disconnect from Spiky. He's in a safe spot. I don't think we're going to pause it for the round, though, unfortunately, as per, I believe, that CCL ruling. So, and essentially 4 versus 5 in favor of DSU. We'll see if Spiky's able to rejoin, but just trying to make the best of it. And that'll be a great way to open it, as Peachy's going to be good for 1. And the wall goes up. DSU barely able to break it before, but a perfect molly from Frogfan's going to be netting a ton of fragile effects onto SDSU. And with that, Frogfan's 3rd kill, it's all but secured the round. As yeah, that'll be. There's nothing left for anyone to do, but only Frogman's gonna be living there. Unfortunate, really, for SDSU.
Yeah, I mean, we had seen some technical issues, kind of, I believe, last map as well. I hope that they can kind of work something out. And I think we might also be taking a little bit of a tech break as well.
I think a tech break at when their actual in-game timer hits 10 seconds, so we're not sitting there after the tech break waiting forever. But yeah, as some of the people from SDSU have been saying, I think their campus internet is having issues. So I don't think it's necessarily Spiky having the issue. I think it's pretty much everyone there. But an unfortunate moment, especially in lieu of losing that first map, having that technical issue right away. But
yeah, I think, and you know, I'm really excited to see how the rest of this game goes, because I'm seeing a lot of similar comps from both teams here. We're seeing like the same Viper, the same Sage, the same Killjoy, and the only thing that we're seeing differently is the duelist pick, and that is the difference between a Raze and a Jet. So going to be super interesting to see going into these next couple of rounds. Honestly, I think it's going to be back and forth for a while.
And really, the biggest difference between the Jet and the Raze is just how they take space. As you had said on Lotus, that's what a duelist is like kind of supposed to do, is to aggressively take the space, where like I think initiators passively, so to speak, take space with like recon and stuff. But really, you can kind of pick and drop any duelist in that position. It might come down if we really want to get nitpicky with like a flash duelist versus an actual like a other duelist. Because right now neither of them are playing the flash duelists of Reyna, Phoenix, or Yoru. And so really it just comes down to comfortability on this map. Whether you're Peachy and you prefer playing the Jet, maybe getting up on top of the box on A to try to get a op shot down, or if you're Xeon, who has probably some great blast pack parkour and gymnastics that I would like to see. But I would like to point out, unless SDSU pull this through, and I would love for them to do, we didn't see Gecko.
You know, a little bit unfortunate for content's sake, I think. But I think as far as league play goes, maybe people just aren't as comfortable with Gecko as they are with other agents getting into some major league setting. But I think that Gecko eventually we'll start to see him appear in some games later on. But thankfully, Spiky was able to kind of reconnect there, and we're going into round 2 a little bit early on. And SDSU making their presence known on B. It looks like they're maybe going for early flank, and Lunchbox shuts it down.
Lunchbox. Line them up and knock them down. The flank is all in control of Lunchbox, as he's only going to take 4 damage from the long-range classic. But no, I'm not too terribly surprised we didn't see Gecko on this map. The way that his wingman kind of interacts with a lot of the site plants on Icebox kind of is weird. And so I'm not entirely surprised. I kind of wish we saw him on Lotus. And if we go to Split, I imagine he's fairly good.
Enemy remaining.
But yeah, I do think it just comes down to map pool, really.
J-Mula good for 2 and hit in their own spawn. And ended up going down to a 1v5 situation, and J-Mula's going to pick up 3 for round 2. So a pretty scratchy start here for SDSU, though hopefully they can kind of regain some ground now that they're on a full buy.
Are on a full buy, but unfortunately, because Spiky, when Spike DC'd, he lived that round and did not have the money to coming into it due to living. And so it's just, and they had to force up last round as well. They kind of had a little bit of a better buy. They're not going to be in this prime position really to come back and hit DSU where it hurts. And so they're going to have a lot of light armor, I think a bulldog in there. And so this is their buy round, but it's not that good of a buy.
Yeah, going to be kind of on par with DSU, but maybe just have a slight edge in terms of weapons.
I think it'll come down between like a Vandal where we see in PG versus Billy's, I think Spectre. So definitely still in control or in favor of SDSU, but that'll be Frogfan taking down Peachy. That's a Vandal out of play.
A lot of aggression here shown on A.
Frog having to take down that wall. Spiky though, I keep saying Spiky when there's a W and B between the Y. But Spike getting 2. It's a 2 versus 3 retake. Frogfan's gonna be in a very aggressive one and done kind of area. 1 HP in a dream. Not gonna quite do all that much to Hunters. Hunters good for 2. Gonna net SDSU their first round win. And it's the round they needed to win. It wasn't looking good from the start, but they won anyway. And now I think they're able to pick up the 2 Vandals that I think they brought into this round. So not a whole lot lost.
Yeah, they really found that momentum that they were looking for, and good on them. They won the round that they really needed to win, and honestly, you can't hate them for it. They did a really good job there. I think that they got a very early pick, and we kind of continued to push onto that same site. We gave up a little bit of resistance there on the box for A, and honestly, now it's a little bit more even. We're seeing a buy from both SDSU and DSU now. So, I mean, a little bit in favor of DSU, like you mentioned earlier, still with them having to buy light shields, but
they won the round, which is important, but it comes down to the adage of you won it, but you didn't win it well enough. You only had 2 people living through it. And so you're needing to buy 3 people once again. And so it just puts you in a tough position economy-wise, but scoreboard-wise, you're doing pretty good.
Billy able to get a very early pick on Peachy there. And Peachy actually complimenting Billy, saying nice shot in the chat. But with a minute to go here, it looks like Lunchbox pushing through the tunnel, as well as Xeon just kind of waiting for a nice early pick, making some noise on the A site, getting some rotations off. But the bomb is going towards B.
Now this is a great fake out from Xeon. They're able to get the Viper wall up and a Sage wall as well. That recon dart is gonna kind of force them out a little bit when the spike will be going down. It's all been a ruse. Finally, Hunter will take down Billy with that molly. But that's post plant, so the spike's down. The Sage has done her job basically, other than try to live.
Frog fan throwing down his ult and making it super hard for SDSU to get onto site. But it looks like, oh, Butter's able to get Lunchbox early on in kitchen.
That's tough. You had the lineup and you just overcompensated on your flick, and it's just Spike left, and that'll be Frog playing outside of his Viper ultimate, a rare sight, especially with how quickly that Viper ultimate decays now. And we'll be seeing DSU taking it back. They lost one round and they're just back at it. They had the superior weaponry, and they're gonna force SDSU onto a proper save round here. And so they still have a very firm grip on how this round is gonna go. But starting next round, if you lose it for SDSU, you start getting scared, because then you're running away with, or DSU's running away with it. I'm getting so mixed up. It's South Dakota State and Dakota State, and it's just gonna drive me nuts.
We've seen on previous save rounds for SDSU that they've kind of just barreled down. Unfortunately, Billy was able to, or I'm sorry, Lunchbox was able to shut that down super early on. But now they're kind of opting to play a little bit more of a default here. Kind of wait for them to make any mistakes, and then SDSU will capitalize on those mistakes. And we see a little bit of a default here. We've got Sova and Raze playing on A, as well as Frogfan playing at mid, and then we've got the rest of DSU playing over at B, with the bomb as well over at B.
Yeah, a really good default here. Although the Jet leaving kitchen is gonna give Frogfan a ton of room. So much information and map control gained by Frog, and Xeon's gonna be getting a kill towards the A site,
forcing SDSU to stack 3.
Yeah, this looks like it's gonna be finally an execute on the A site. Oh, Xeon just walking his way through. Frog gonna be getting that flank kill and another one to boot, but Xeon just trying to walk his way in. With that ultimate, he's gonna lose his life to Butters, who was just sitting in that corner waiting to die, basically. But no, this is where things are gonna get interesting, as this is SDSU's not only buy up but required win round. Ascent's gonna have to stop visiting Uncle Owen here and really get this ball rolling, and in terms of kills, and to really boost that economy. We've seen already one Frogfan ultimate come out, and he's already 2 points back into his next one, and we still have yet to see the ultimate even come online for SDSU.
See that Sage conditioning wall early on for SDSU there, but DSU is plummeting through B side here as they try to make some ground. And like you mentioned earlier, yeah, they really do need to make some ground going into this next round here, honestly. But keep in mind that this was DSU's preferred map. So honestly, this whole entire game, or this entire map, is going to be a little bit in favor of DSU just because they picked it. They're a little bit more comfortable with it, perhaps. And, you know, hopefully that they can kind of turn the tides.
You should run.
And it's going to be trading Killjoy ultimates here.
Billy good for 1, and he's able to get the lockdown as well, and he's good for 1 more.
Through this, I think that was through the smoke, or as someone was passing through the smoke there. And it's just gonna force everyone out, really taking a ton of time off of that defuse timer. And Billy's gonna be good for 3, making it through. Only Jay Mula falling for Dakota State. So not only do they crush the hope of SDSU when it comes to needing to win that, they do it in such a nearly flawless fashion. Their economy is gonna be really thanking them for that. We're seeing Frog fans sitting on 8,000 creds still. That's incredible.
Yeah, they're definitely sitting a little bit fancy now. So they don't really have to worry too much. They maybe have a little bit of rounds to play with, as well as the economy, like you mentioned as well. So now they can kind of comfortably sit and be like, all right, now we can really start working on some textbook plays.
See that default Viper wall towards B, really conditioning SDSU to think that they're going there, while the rest of the team's gonna be lurking up. Frog, he's gonna lose his life as Butters gets the Sheriff headshot. He will be taken down low, but as a Sage, he can heal himself, not nearly as effectively as he can heal his team. That's also gonna be Peachy with the jet knives, really showing that not only is it Xeon who's pretty adept with those knives, but so is Peachy, as he earns himself a second kill as well. Finally, Billy's gonna be opening up a kill. No flawless for SDSU, as Ascent tried to get a cheeky stinger kill, and all of the knives go wide. Billy's down to 32.
Last player standing.
And it's Spike with another kill. J-Mula, last hope. And that'll be a thrifty round for SDSU, really off of the back of Peachy there with the triple, but also the Sage of Butters in mid.
Yeah, quite a great round for these guys. They really needed that. They really were kind of missing that momentum, especially after losing the force-up round that they really needed. And now they kind of gave themselves a little bit of space to work with. And we actually see Peachy buying an operator going into this 8th round here.
We're talking about your economic issues for so long, and suddenly you pull an operator out of your back pocket? Excuse me? Guess that's what a triple kill can do for you, but...
Super scary for DSU here. The operator playing on top of yellow.
Xeon, he saw his knee jiggle out, but didn't quite have the reaction time to flick up there. He will lose his life. Oh, that's research. That's research right there. we had talked, I think it was the last time we interviewed J-Mula in the post-game interview, that whoever they were playing that game, they were worried about, and then they did a ton of research, and they just knew where everyone was putting stuff. And that's research going in there, knowing that Butters likes to sit up on that counter. It's a weird off angle that you don't usually like think about. And he just has a shock dart for it. Of course J-Mula has a shock dart for it.
Hunter gonna pick up 2 on DSU there, but Billy's gonna be able to get 2 as well. That'll tie up the round a little bit. Billy also getting a res on, looks like Lunchbox there, so it'll make it a 3v2 situation, but looks like Ascent gets his first 2 kills, I believe, of the entire game.
With the snake bite, no less, applying that fragile, but J-Mula's gonna whiff.
Might be able to stop this with his ultimate, however.
He's gonna lose his life. He can't pull out his gun in time.
Unfortunately for J-Mula, not gonna be able to get those shots off in time.
That wall, that offensive side wall, that was one that Billy put down, was just not allowing him to repressure that. And that'll be a DSU timeout. The first time we've seen DSU call a timeout, but yeah, that was a wild round, and really, I think that might have been just a panic ultimate of I need to pressure this.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that they did a darn good job making sure that they had that pressure there, and then they lost 2 to Ascent, and that was actually their first 2 kills of the entire game. I did look at that earlier.
Boy, that's unfortunate.
So a pretty good ego boost for Ascent there, as they were able to win that round because of those first 2 kills that they'd gotten. So super good on their part. And now it's, a 3v3 to 5. It's looking a little bit more realistic for SDSU now. They're kind of showing their presence and what they can do for this game. So it's looking a little bit scary as we had seen that DSU had called a timeout there. So,
but we got 4 rounds left in this half. A lot can happen. We can see, really a 7-5 is in the grasp of either team. And we'll be, economy is good for everyone. So nobody's really going to be struggling all that much. I think that might have been a Coach Leif mental reset of, hey, you guys are doing fire, but you just lost 2. Hold up, breathe. Okay, go back into it, kind of deal. Which I know Coach Leif from the post-game interviews that we've had with him. I think we've had 2 with him. That's like his biggest job is just calm down.
We see Peachy actually buying another operator going into this ninth round.
Oh, Jamula's gonna just walk through the smoke, gonna net a positive trade in favor of DSU. They're gonna have to get healed. Frogfan's gonna have to get healed up by Billy, who's getting super aggressive towards Kitchen. As Peachy's gonna be good for 1. He's gonna be good for 2 with the point blank range operator shot. It's a 2 versus 2. Res is available for SDSU, and yeah, they'll be bringing back Hunter. Unfortunately, Hunter does not quite have the Killjoy lockdown on online. Otherwise, that'd be pretty much a round win. But SDSU, firm control, really. And
that
that
wall up in time.
Those Killjoy mollies were crucial. Xeon's gonna get the spray, but the trades are out. Xeon's good for 1 with the shorty and Xeon.
Able to pick up a 3-piece that round.
And it was a really impressive 3-piece too. Let's go back and see it. I wonder if I caught that first kill. I think I did, as Xeon first sprays down the jet there, gets the shorty kill onto Hunter.
And then with 3 bullets left, able to pick up the last one as well. Fantastic job from Xeon there.
That's just worming his way through. I'm surprised he got the shorty kill of all things.
It was a really long-range shorty kill, I have to agree with you.
But every time I'm like anything other than quite literally point blank range, it just feels like the shorty in my hands can't do anything. But that's just Xeon being built different with these shotguns. He's gonna miss and whiff his nade a little bit as it, I think it damages his own team's wall more than anything. But Butter's going to town with the judge. And this is another very dirty, thrifty round coming in from SDSU. Peachy's gonna dash through the Raze ultimate using some iframes to negate any damage, and Hunter will finally take him down. That's another round where, in terms of economy and weaponry, DSU's favored to win that, but SDSU bringing it back, and that's showing the skill that this team does have.
Yeah, they're doing a fantastic job making sure that they're getting the correct trades off super early on and very quickly. And, you know, we saw a lot of trades going back and forth. Of course, Butters picking up 2 super early on with the judge hiding by box and then managing to get traded off. Of course, the person that traded off Butters got traded off almost immediately. And then that kept them that just kept on kind of just rolling the tides. And of course, SDSU managing to pick up that round.
DSU on their first save round of this half, of this map even, as we do only have 2 rounds left in this half. It'll be, I think that's a smarter choice too, as you want to be able to buy into that last round. And so saving here and more so keeping your opportunity alive to guarantee a better round next round.
Jamula looks like he might have tried to get a better gun, but unfortunately was taken out. Lunchbox gonna be good on Ascent, and then immediately traded Jamula and Lunchbox taken out. And that'll be another round win for SDSU there.
Just trades back and forth, and when you're down the player, you really can't afford to do those kinds of trades.
What do you think that DSU is kind of thinking about as they're kind of, I don't want to say getting maybe destroyed per se, but they're kind of starting to lose a little bit more rounds. They're seeing them, so they lost 2, they won 1, and now they're losing 2 once more. And as we go into this last round, what do you think they're kind of thinking about?
I don't want to say that DSU is becoming predictable of all things in this half, but we're seeing a lot of pressure go. We're not, I could be wrong because I could have forgotten some of the earlier rounds already, but I haven't seen anything where it's like pressure, like 4 people here while the spike kind of lurks somewhere and then immediate switch over to the other site. And that kind of just comes down to playing on Icebox. You don't really have that option because of how the map is kind of spread out. But they're not faking sites very well. There was maybe 1 round where they tried to do it where they had Sova and Raze over on A. And so maybe they just need to be pressuring a site more and faking better. But really, I think it's just SDSU has finally turned themselves on.
Yeah, I definitely think that SDSU has definitely flipped it. A little bit of a switch, and now they're doing a lot better.
We're seeing Peachy
taking
with
down
another
Billy.
first kill.
Super important agent to be able to take down, especially with Billy being on the last orb that they needed to get their ultimate, as well as the only agent that can heal the rest of the team. Looks like the Killjoy ultimate will go down. However, Hunter also has their ultimate, so kind of helps negate that ultimate.
And choose not to pop the counter KJ, using that more on the, I think the defuse, especially since Frogfan's gonna be dropping down that Viper's Pit. Yeah, we're gonna see it go down. We don't have a Sova ultimate from either team, and Frogfan just has to stay in, maybe eat the ultimate, although I doubt he'll do, oh, he might. He's gonna try to get some damage before he gets shut down. And we're gonna see a counter Viper ultimate coming out as DSU, they're slowly losing the people, but it is tied up now.
One enemy remaining.
Oh, they get the
Good for
kill.
3.
Leave it to
Trying to get the last.
Lunchbox.
Ascent
Oh,
is able to
but
pick it up.
Ascent! Walking into the Viper's Pit, both players from DSU will lose their lives. It's a great double kill from Lunchbox to try to eke something out, even everything up.
Switching sides.
But they just walk in, and unfortunately, Ascent, playing in that Viper's Pit is so deadly. That initial 50 decay damage can mean the difference between life and death. And Ascent, I think those were, what was that, 3 kills in one round?
I believe
and
so, yeah.
He's got, every time he's gotten a kill, it's been very impactful impact frags.
It has indeed, yeah. He doesn't have a lot of kills, however, he is doing work.
Very impactful frags on his part.
And that'll actually tie the game up going into the second half here. And I think that, you know, DSU, they've got it figured out. I think, like you mentioned, they're showing a lot of pressure, especially when they were on offense. They were showing a lot of pressure. I think that they may have been showing a little bit too much pressure and trying to get themselves too much space. I think they just weren't comfortable with the amount of space that they had, and they kept on trying to gain more of it. And that ended up kind of maybe biting them in the butt. However, now being on defense, they can kind of focus on just keeping the amount of space that they have. And as we see SDSU really push towards A here. Looks like maybe a 4-stack with Killjoy playing over on mid.
DSU back in control. Now, I gotta ask, we were talking about Lotus being a defensive-sided map, so I want to say Icebox is relatively 50-50. Just because of, I mean, it really just depends on who's hitting their shots better on Icebox, at least in my, like, the way I feel whenever I'm on this map. Because sometimes I'm hot and sometimes I'm not, but really, I want to say it's pretty 50-50, so seeing a 6-6 is not all that surprising.
I think that is a pretty 50-50 as well. I think that, you know, so long as you're doing your due diligence on defense, that the attacking side has to do a lot more work to try to create space, especially at mid, actually. I think that there's a lot of space that has to be created at mid, and I think that it can be a very scary position. But it looks like SDSU making their way onto A side here, only losing Hunter, and it looks like Jay Mula has also fallen over at mid. So, but the bomb goes down. Billy trying to go for a sneaky little cheek peek.
Excuse me, Billy? And that'll be a lot of players left up for DSU. They have the advantage, 3 players left, and Billy just went on a rampage with the free gun, no less. And that'll be another pistol round going DSU's way.
A very, very nasty swing from Billy there, going through Maze actually, and kind of just wrapping around the entire SDSU team, and able to help him pick up that round.
I think, yeah, he got 3 that round, now sitting top of this team, not quite top of the lobby, with 13 kills. He's doing a lot of work, really showing the battle sage off. And that's gonna net DSU the pistol round, in which case they are slated to win this round too. Anything can happen, but they're supposed to win this round, in which case, so one of the more early on things I heard when Valorant first came out was that if you win pistol round on both halves, you better be winning the whole game, because you now have 4 rounds up from both teams, or from the enemy team. But Lunchbox is going to be lit up, playing just a little bit too aggressive, as 2 players from DSU will fall.
SDSU getting the bomb down in only a 3v5 situation. for DSU here. They're really going to have to work despite being on a better buy, like you mentioned earlier. But it looks like SDSU is really showing their presence here on B site. Frogfan trying to go for a little bit of a tap, but he gets off super early, throwing down his mollies on the back of yellow. Looks like J Mula and Xeon are going to be good for 1 each. J Mula good for 2, super low though, 33 health. Frogfan also good for 1, and Xeon good for 2.
And there we go. We just had to get everyone in the right position, and DSU, we were running away with it. Originally dropping the first 2 defenders. Beautiful retake from DSU.
I agree, a fantastic retake indeed. They did amazing. It didn't look too awesome for these guys going into, especially when the bomb was planted. However, they really showed their presence, just having better guns. I think that extremely helped them. And, you know, Frogfan's mollies really helped create some space for them. And eventually they were kind of able to just pick them off.
But now SDSU, yep, perfect weaponry. Everyone's buying up full shields, full guns, probably full util as well. But this is a must-win for them. We saw on Lotus when they lose that 3rd round. Granted, DSU didn't have quite the same armaments that they did on Lotus. They don't have them now, but it's very important to win this round on the second half, as it will just snowball all the way to a DSU victory. They are in a better position already, not being in a 7-5. They were 6-6, so a round closer.
Lunchbox actually sticking with the frenzy just by being on the 3rd round and after winning both rounds. So a little bit of a goofy buy. It looks like J Mula also on the frenzy. So
I think these were the players that died, and so they didn't quite want to force up into this round.
I think it's maybe safe to say that DSU might have a hard time winning this round, just with the exception that, you know, they started doing really well with these frenzies, but with SDSU having almost all Vandals and Phantoms, I think that they're going to have a hard time breaking through their attack here.
Billy gonna get lit up through the decay as well. Really, it is down to Billy and Xeon, who have these higher grade weaponry. Now Lunchbox has picked up a stinger, but Peachy's just going to town. Peachy, good on 3. He's gonna peek, dash right into J Mula's crosshair. But it's down to J Mula and Billy. They have weapons to do so, but Ascent's gonna finally shut down all semblance.
Billy picking up a Phantom. He's gonna be good for 2, and unfortunately Butters is gonna take him down.
And that will be the 3rd round of this half going SDSU's way.
It is a super, super scary situation having to retake on B, in my opinion. I think that it's so hard being able to retake. And it takes a lot of game sense, honestly. Like, you have to be able to tap that bomb. You have to be able to kind of count the seconds in your head of how much time does it take for me to half this bomb? Well, it's 3.5 seconds because it takes 7 seconds to defuse the entire bomb, right? So 3.5 seconds at around 3 seconds.
10 seconds and 5 seconds.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
I was like, wait a minute, that's not entirely correct.
And so, I mean, you kind of have to keep a really strong mental clock to be able to retake, especially, you know, when you've got people on top of the box, people below the box. It's a really hard retake.
But now DSU, they have the guns, they have the buy-up. This is their round to win, their round to lose. But it's gonna come down to this execute here on the A site. Xeon's gonna choose just to eat that owl drone. Try to just use what is remaining of his utility to slow down any push, but
oh, Xeon barely missing.
And that's a very aggressive peek from Peachy, just barreling down on Xeon, leaving Frogfan high and dry. He's good for 1, but once again, Peachy opening it up. Doing exactly what a duelist needs to do.
Billy gonna be trying to get the res on Xeon there. Able to get it off unscathed. As the bomb goes down. Gonna be a 4v4 situation after the revive. A little bit of a scary situation for DSU here though. No ultimates though to come out. Billy's good for 2. And the bomb is gonna be defused. It looks like that SDSU just didn't have enough time to get up the ramp.
They tried playing too far back. Played too far back, tried to get a weird off angle up in their heaven area of their spawn. 2 soul on the rotate.
DSU taking advantage of just some minor mistakes that SDSU is making. I think that they're doing a fantastic job creating space. And after Peachy died, they just had a really hard time creating that space that they needed. And DSU managed to just kind of clobber.
I will say, I love the play from Peachy, especially because of the exploitation of that Viper wall. It's a very strong Viper wall here that Frog keeps throwing. You're able to cover off that weird avenue into A as well as both of the actual like choke points. But when you're on that generator area, it's a super dangerous spot to peek, but also you can just see straight over it. You're not covered at all, and actually you're almost covered yourself, and it almost like works to your benefit.
Frogman gonna be getting butters there, but the bomb is gonna go down. Another 2v3 situation on B here. Both of those guys playing on yellow, and I believe there's one in kitchen as well, so gonna have to be careful for the flank.
That'll be Hunter making his presence known, taking down Frogfan. Just Jay Mula left. He knows someone's up top. I know exactly where he's at. This is firmly in SDSU's control. The wide peek from Hunter, gonna get the 1 tap from the Guardian. That'll secure them another round win. It's back and forth, but fortunate for DSU. If it's just a back and forth, we're gonna be taking those every day of the week.
Yeah, eventually we're gonna get to a point to where we're ahead by 1, and all we have to do is win 1 more after winning their first one, and that'll put them ahead for a while. However, like you said, yeah, a lot of back and forth action going on, and now that we're on a broken bye, just going back and forth for so long and forcing up maybe just a little bit too high, SDSU being on a pretty good bye for this round.
Now this is where SDSU needs to recoup. This is where they need to tie it up. Otherwise, they're going to be down almost too much. As SDSU, this is their vulnerable round. This is where they really need to make their shots count. And they're going to choose to do that by going aggressive down mid. If 3 people kind of peek in this area here. And I'm loving the position of that Killjoy turret, because it's just out of the vision cone of anyone looking underneath the bridge. You have to push all the way up into mid in order to take it down. And they've spotted the rotate. Killjoy from SDSU just getting so much space. He will be taken down though by Billy. The 1 tap from the Marshall, doing I think it's 202 damage to a headshot.
Yeah, 202. Oh, Peachy able to take down Frogfan, but Xeon able to pick one up with his ultimate. But looks like Butters is trying to go for the res. J Mula's ultimate coming out super early here.
Not able to take down that attacking Killjoy ultimate. That's really unfortunate, as it really puts Billy in a tough position.
But he's gonna be able to shut it down just in time.
J Mula gets the kill. And that'll be DSU. A clinical retake there, as, I mean, Billy, he just threw caution, was like, oh, we can't kill it with the Hunter's Fury? Bullet does the same job.
Catching Hunter there on a reload, super unfortunate for Hunter, but Billy catching Hunter on a reload, able to clear up some space, catching Hunter, and then able to clear out the ultimate as well. So super huge for Billy there. And then J Mula doing some work, getting the last person there, and able to get the bomb defused.
That is a thrifty for DSU. Now with a 2-round lead. And a pretty good buy too. I mean, DSU has just, after winning that pistol, both of the pistol rounds, they just have so much, I don't want to say breathing room, because still they're only ahead by 2, but they don't have their backs up against the wall. They're not feeling the overcooked pressure that they could have been feeling if that round hadn't gone their way.
I agree. Lots of pressure here from mid. Looks like Hunter's gonna take down Billy early on here at Tube. J Mula taking a little bit of tick damage from his own shock dart.
Hunter backing out of mid. It's a very, very smart play. Now gonna try to retake some of that. Not trying to be overzealous and overcommit. And he's just gonna dodge through the Helidrone. Frog's gonna drop his ultimate, but unfortunately will fall to Butters. Giving away your position like that And that'll be a counter Viper ultimate. As now 5 versus 3 retake. DSU in kind of a pickle here, as really you need that owl drone up and ready, and they have the flank from Hunter, who has just been lurking mid this entire time. Every tool that SDSU needs to come back in this round is at their disposal, and they're just making clean work of it. Xeon not gonna let it be a flawless, but the spike will tick down. No chance for a retake, so Xeon and Jamula gonna get out of dodge, live with their weapons, try to come back into it.
Yeah, super.
And it's back and forth once again.
It really is, you know. And like you mentioned, they're not necessarily back against their wall. They haven't been chasing their opponents this entire game like SDSU has, you know, just being one round behind. Like, hey, if we can just get even with these guys, we'll be in good shape. And, you know, so they've been one round ahead pretty much every game, or every round. And that kind of goes to mainly just winning those first 2 rounds in every half. They won the pistol round, and then they won the round after that. And that was really good on their part. It kept them ahead this entire time. And now they're doing really good work. However, they just need to get out of this rhythm of being back and forth, because eventually it's going to hurt their economy. And they're going to kind of run into that pickle like you mentioned earlier.
Granted, I think SDSU is now finally starting to sit into that position as well of not being able to buy all that comfortably. And so it's broken buys left and right. And what I'm finding really funny is that DSU wins the round that they have the broken buy, and then loses the round where they have a full buy.
Yeah, it's super interesting, to be honest.
I think it's just the mentality and the tactics coming out when you have the more weird weapons, the ones that you can't really just necessarily rely on your aim. You have to have a brain to back it up.
Lunchbox is gonna fall the jet there as they take a lot more space on B here. So the bomb is gonna go down from Spiky. But Billy is gonna get the revive on Lunchbox there as they try to get some space. Xeon getting a nice headshot on Ascent there. Peachy also getting another kill on Jamula there.
Xeon, you did not deserve that headshot. And now the spike will be starting the defuse with Frog on a very late game flank. They have to.
Oh
Frog
no! Fan. A fantastic flank from Frog Fan there as he's waiting for the KJ ultimate to go down. That was magnificent for him.
No, what I love about that is he made his presence known the moment that DSU started the defuse. So SDSU had the choice of, okay, they're defusing, but they're also behind us. Who do we deal with first? Because if we deal with the bomb, like they tried to do, we're gonna get stabbed in the back. But if we try to deal with the knife in our back, well, they're gonna defuse the bomb. And so you're just stuck in a really weird position that Frogfan just able to exploit so perfectly.
And with a Spectre nonetheless.
One enemy remaining.
Did a fantastic job creating a huge ultimatum for these guys. And that will put them 1 round away from match point. Actually, game point. So super, super scary situation for SDSU here. However, they should be able to kind of make something out of this.
I'm definitely noticing now that the scoreline is 11-9, closer than it was on Lotus. It's off of some of just those aim duels. We're seeing Peachy getting really nice shots and really impactful frags as well. But now DSU gonna back up a little bit. They can't quite hold this with their numbers. That'll be once again, spike goes down. Trades back and forth though. That's a lot of Viper mollies used.
Under a 4v4 situation here, but Billy taking a lot of tick damage, and the bomb goes down. Looks like a retake is going to be in order.
That's SDSU Sage. That's Butters. So that's health pools actually really in favor of DSU. And Billy taking down 3 players. The shock dart, I don't think quite padded up there, but Xeon's gonna get the shot, taking down Spike. I don't know what that shock dart was. That was a weird bounce.
Did a fantastic job retaking that site there. What a well-executed play. Although a lot of them being on super low health, they managed to pull through, and that will put them on game point.
Game point. I love saying or hearing the match point from the announcer, especially like on the second map of each round or each what's the word I'm looking for? You know the word I'm looking for. Come on. Game. I'll just go with that one.
And match.
Because the first map, she announces match point, and
but it's map point.
In my head, it's like no, it's just map point. But now it's actually accurate.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just makes me giggle a little bit.
A lot of mid presence here. J Mula kind of reading that a little bit. Lunchbox good for 1 on Peachy.
Peachy gained a lot of ground outside of mid there. It was just shut down by Lunchbox, unfortunately, not able to capitalize on any of that.
Butters
and that'll be Billy taking down Ascent as well through the under tunnel there.
Down to a 2v5 situation. Super scary for SDSU here. Butters also on under half HP. So going to be a huge miracle needed from SDSU if they want to keep this game going for them.
Adding insult to injury as we also see Xeon with the showstopper of all things. A very aptly named ultimate here. As this is looking like the end for SDSU. Definitely not. They have 35 seconds left, so anything can happen, but they have a very tall order to get
30
through.
seconds left.
As I think they were spotted. I think they might have just been spotted by Lunchbox making their way towards A, and it's exactly where DSU is posed to shut down. Here we go.
And the double kill potential here. Xeon's able to pick up 1. And J Mula picking up the second one, and that will actually end the entire match for SDSU versus DSU. DSU managing to pick that one up.
And that is a very strong win for Dakota State as well, taking down South Dakota State University, the only team that I'm aware of. I could be completely wrong here, but it's the only team that I looked into who has beaten NDSU, who has been a monster of a team as well coming into this. So it's looking like a very, very exciting season going into the postseason, as that was our last week of the regular season here. I think DSU only dropping that one match against North Dakota State University. And so really, really looking strong going into the postseason.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. I can almost promise any viewer that's watching right now that I promise you that postseason games are going to be absolutely fire. They're going to be so much fun. They're going to be a definite watch. Have your notifications on for Trojan Esports, especially when, Valorant games are posted. We don't have any games lined up as of right now. But
now we still have to do seeding and all that, I believe.
Yes. So make sure that you've got your notifications turned on, and always stay tuned for some Valorant gameplay. So it's going to be very, very fun.
But yeah, that'll be Dakota State taking the win over SDSU. Really electric match there. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see Gecko. I'm going to cry when I get back to my dorm. I'm not going to lie. However, the postseason we will. I can almost guarantee. But yeah, thank you all for joining in and watching this electric match. And Colin, unless you have anything else to add, I think that'll be it from us here at the desk.
I think so, yeah. Again, make sure you got notifications turned on. I guarantee that the postseason games are going to be absolutely awesome. There's going to be a whole bunch of NDSU gameplay, SDSU, Minds is going to be there, and we've had some rivalry between all of those teams. It's going to be super fun, so make sure to stay tuned in.
Definitely. Thank you all for joining us, and have a great night.